What's up, ladies and non-ladies? We are back with part 3 of Serial Killer's Runes, and in this one we're going to be doing my wind monsters. So, here we go.
Alright, we got Bernard. Pretty straightforward here. You want 60 speed faster than my Bernard, and then you can call him done. Bernard's gotta be swift, and speed on 2, and who cares on everything else. Hit points might be ideal on 4 and 6. One could argue that this crit damage on 4 is extremely valuable, and I know people that run attack on 6 and you gain just like the crit damage on 4. I really like my speed crit damage hit point Bernard. He's squishier than he could be, but he's still relatively sturdy. It's a very, very nice base stat monster, and my Bernard will auto attack for 16-17k into a monster, which is glorious. So it's not necessarily ideal to have crit damage on 4, but it works really, really well. Ramagos, I go back and forth between different phases of using. I used to be obsessed / reliant on Ramagos. Once I started using my Ermeda, my usage of Ramagos fell down quite a bit. And now him and Trevor tend to trade runes because, oddly enough, my vampire hit point set has like 4 billion% attack subs, and most of it's like 4 or 5 runes that the two of them share, and it's very odd to see it like that. But when I have that set of runes on my Ramagos, he's got like 160% attack damage in subs. It's a weird set of runes, but that's just the way that vampire set works out. But you're going to want this guy hit point, hit point, hit point. If you could get him relatively fast, that would be nice. We're talking 130, 140-ish. I wouldn't try to make him much faster than that. Accuracy is pretty decent, but not needed. I like resistance on mine, and I also like at least 1 set of will runes on mine. 2 sets of will runes is pretty decent as well, but you don't necessarily need them, and you can lose effectiveness by having will runes if you prevent him from taking any damage. The nice thing about a will rune is you don't want him to get stunned. You do want him to take damage so that he can eat something with his third. You just don't want him to get stunned before it's his turn to kill stuff. And then we have Ermeda, the Ramagos retirement plan. I love this dude. I've been running him double will for a while. I think it's a her. I've been running her double will for a while. I tried running her support for a little while. I've tried her with hit points on 4, and I've tried her with speed on 2. I did not like either of them. I like her hit points, crit damage, hit points. As much crit rate as you can stuff in there. A lot more crit damage would be fun if you could. Probably not going to get much faster than this unless you just have way nicer runes. There's just not a whole lot of room for it. And then I really would like to have a solid 40% accuracy on her, because she does have a very good strip on her auto attack and a very good AoE slow on her number 2. Copper is runed pretty much like my bulldozer. I think most of these runes actually got flipped between them last free rune removal day. The energy set helps bulldozer a little bit more for my particular use, but this set has more defense than the set that I had on him, so I switched them around because the bulldozer doesn't really care. Defense and crit damage both just do damage. On copper, they do damage, and you have to have enough defense to actually proc the armor ignore. Now, both my bulldozer and my copper are pretty high crit rate compared to most people's, and that's because I run them with Emma most of the time. My bulldozer is 91%, and my copper is, where did you go, buddy? Right there. My copper is 86. My copper will always crit water people, and my bulldozer will always crit wind people. If I have to hit like a wind guy with my copper, then I have to know that there's a chance that he won't crit and won't kill that thing first turn. Crits most of the time, and a lot of the times I can just force my copper to hit a water guy and or my bulldozer to hit a wind guy, and then I'm guaranteed the crit. My Katarina is a relatively new adventure. She could go a lot of ways. She really should be Rage or Fatal. Mine can't because I don't have them. She's super slow, and she needs to be Will for the use that I'm getting out of her. I've considered giving her Devils to bump up this sort of discharge because I really do like her. I'm just so shy on Devils, I haven't committed to using them yet. But I really do like this team. And its attack, crit damage attack is pretty much the only way to rune her. I can't fathom putting speed onto, but if you did, you would need some epic attack subs. And ideally you want Katarina at 70% crit rate with some sort of crit buffer. In my case, I use a Queefsenough, and you want her to have 40 billion attack and 60 billion crit damage. You don't so much need the other stats. She's kind of a kill them right now first turn, or you lose, kind of a one-trick pony there. Alright guys, hang in with me. We're almost done with this. The Bryand is something that I would still say that the best thing that Bryand has ever done is dominate Hall of Heroes. The downside is that we no longer have that same style Hall of Heroes, so he does become less useful by not of his accord, but just because of what we need. At the same time, he is a monster in a TOA auto team. Mine is defense, hit point, hit point. Most people will run their Bryan's triple hit point. There is an advantage in that his skill 2 will hit for more, which I think has basically zero value. There is an advantage in that Lushens and Copper will have a harder time killing him, which basically has zero value because Bryan's not really great on Guild War defense or arena defense. And a Bryan has more effective health if you mix some defense and hit point runes than if you stack 3 hit point runes. Mine is tankier because he has a defense rune on 2 than he would be if he had a hit point rune on 2. At the same time, he's got this extremely shiny 20 speed endure rune on him that I am quite a fan of. It lets him, he ends up being 162 speed, which is pretty nice considering Bryand he's fast base monster, but he's not someone that you think about getting fast, but he has good buttons. He's on Despair, he's got an AoE attack break here, he's got a revive here, and a heal block on 1. You want him cycling turns. His main job is to just never die, that way the rest of your team can never die, but I do like that he's got some speed into him, so it helps him cycle through that stuff forward. This guy is a monster whenever he needs to not die. Here is my Fuco. More or less, this is a Water Regal. The one kind of difference here is that Fuco's passive shield lets him be quite an amazing farmer. I use my Fuco in Necro just like my Regal. I use neither of them for PvP or raid or anything like that. But my Fuco with these stats will solo Chiruko Hell in a pretty solid time too. It's like $140 to like very low 2s, like 205 is about his average clear time, which is pretty fast for Chiruka Hell. I assume whatever a Rakan can do it like apeshit fast. I don't even know what else clears that. I know people do it with Kumar, but it's probably slower than my Fuco with equal rune quality. Fuco's super, super awesome. Don't let anyone tell you that he's, just a Necro monster. He's a great farmer. I have him set as my rep almost constantly. Mine is going to be speed, crit damage, attack. A super perfect Fuco would probably be attack, crit damage, attack. My Necro team gets like super leftover runes, and to get him as fast as I want, he ends up with speed on 2, just like my my Regal. And this is a monster that you're going to want on a couple sets of Revenge or Violent Revenge. Mine ends up being a couple sets of Revenge and a Blade set, which is pretty nice. He will crit water stuff extremely well, and the Chiruka level he farms is half water, half wind, so it does speed things up that he has extremely high crit. I would probably like him to have the 45% accuracy that I aim for with most monsters, but I just didn't quite make it happen here, and I do like the rest of his stats, So that's what he ended up on. And keep in mind, my Fuco or all of my Kairos teams are not getting my grade 1 or my grade A runes. Those are all going to my PvP monsters. My Imesety gets used extremely little, so he kind of gets like last pick of my runes. He's on a relatively scrubby Swift set. When I'm using him, it's because if I go first and let my Copper or Bulldozer go first, then I automatically win the Guild War. And it's getting very rare that the opponent only has one super threat. They usually got at least 2. And I feel much, much, much more comfortable bringing Emma and her heal and just tanking the first turn with will runes and then her sweet heal and her defense buff than trying to get first turn with an Imesety. And my Imesety is slow as dog shit, so it's not even a really good way to get first turn. But you're going to want Imesety Swift, you're going to want speed on 2, probably hit points on 4 and 6. Mine has accuracy on 6 purely because I don't give a shit. I want some accuracy on him, and he's very much set up for I kill this team first turn and win, or I don't and I lose. So I'm not trying to build him as a super tanky bruiser. I want to win before they get to move, or I lose. On that note, I don't use him very much at all. Not a bad monster. I like Emma 47,000 times better. Here's Raviti. I think Raviti is probably my favorite semi-accessible raid cleanser. I personally think most people should probably be running Raviti and Kona as their 2 raid cleansers, at least while you're starting. If you can rock a Raviti and a Lisa, all the more power to you. But the heal on Kona is quite useful, and if I was only going to take one, I would much rather have a Raviti than a Lisa. I've yet to build my Lisa because I have a Kona, I have a Raviti, I have a Nikki, and I have an Amarna. I am blessed with all kinds of cleansers, so I haven't even built my Lisa yet. This bubble on Raviti is extremely undervalued. It is a huge bubble, and Raviti's base stats are insanely high. Fire Panda is really the only thing I've used that has tankier base stats, and they're not even that much tankier. This guy is extremely easy to get very, very fast and sturdy enough to frontline tank a 2-man raid team if need be. A 2-man frontline I did with Raviti and Fire Panda for a while, trying out Darien in the back. I ended up deciding I didn't like that, and I like having a 4-man frontline better. But Raviti and Fire Panda will 2-man frontline both at the... Well, Panda was like 200 speed, but my Raviti was like a $170 at the time, doing it like a champ. No problem at all. This is Lushen 1, my only rage set. Lushen you want as fast as possible, and then attack, crit damage attack. Your Lushen ideally should probably be 170-ish speed, but that's pretty hard to do. Your other option would be to put speed on 2, and then you're looking at like a 210-ish speed Lushen. I like attack on 2, and 160 is as fast as I can get this guy while keeping 100% crit rate. So that's what the team's built around. He's specifically he's 160 because that's as fast as I can get him. And then I purposely made my second Lushen and my Julie just barely faster than him. We'll skip Delphoi for a second and look at the second Lushen just because we're talking about him. He's just a little bit faster than the other Lushen. He has speed on 2 because that is the only way I could get him faster than the other Lushen while maintaining all the other stats I need, specifically, or at least the hardest one to get, 100% crit rate. He does a lot less damage than the other Lushen, but he does enough to soften most stuff up, enough for the first Lushen to kill it. Now, I only skipped the Delphoi so we could talk about the 2 Lushens back to back. Delphoi is a beautiful, beautiful, sexy beast. 12 seconds ago when I was talking about cleansers, I did not mention Delphoi because in the context of raid, I don't necessarily love Delphoi as a raid cleanser. I think she's totally passable. I think I would rather use one of the other 4 monsters that I have available or build Elisa. But Delphoi is super, super amazing in Guild Wars. She is such a strong monster. Extremely nice base stats and extremely nice abilities all the way around. Her auto attack is not bad, but it is her weakest button by far. But this Mind Shock is just straight up amazing for either first turning Pernas or Theos, or just locking down some sort of healer. If you've got like an Ariel or a Chasun that you're just tired of being a dick, you can just Mind Shock her and it just ruins their day. And her third is a very weak heal, but it's a relatively decent uptime on immunity and a cleanse. It is extremely, extremely strong, and you'll notice my Delphoi is double will also, and that is because her use is to go double will Delphoi plus double will Emma plus Theomars, and they do some excellent work. Having double will on Delphoi lets me first turn Mind Shock and still have will runes, so that second turn I can throw up Spirit's Blessing and refresh immunity on my whole team. You want Delphoi faster than all of your attackers, and then as tanky as possible and as accurate as possible. Mine ends up being speed, defense, hit points. You could argue one way or the other, but mine is extremely tanky. She's not going to tank a Lushen as well as a speed hit point one will, but if you look at her at 30,000 hit points, she'll tank a Lushen. She'll tank a relatively strong Lushen, even with a defense rune on 4. It's because she has very, very nice base stats, and I gave her pretty nice runes because I love her. The blade is kind of a nice bonus for her auto attack, but it is 100% accident. Her crit rate is low enough that I don't care. 6% crit rate and 31% crit rate and 53% crit rate are not reliable enough to count on, so they're more or less ignored. Once you get into the 55% crit rate, that's when I try to start squeezing it up a little bit and count or hope that she's going to slow stuff. I do not expect her to slow anything. When she does, it's a super pleasant surprise.
Alright guys, that's about it for this one. As always, thank you very much for watching. Hope you enjoyed yourself. Let me know what you thought in the comments, and if you did enjoy yourself, please hit that subscribe button. See you guys next time.